Federal Drive is presented by GEHA, Government Employees Health Association, proudly providing health and dental benefits to federal employees and their families. Visit GEHA.com.
Welcome back to the Federal Drive with Terry Gerton on Federal News Network. Our National Innovation Network is becoming more and more distributed. Now, it's not the big companies, but the small businesses and universities who are most at risk of becoming targets of corporate espionage. Here to help us understand both the threat and how to counter it are John Doyen and Michael Krause. John is the Executive Vice President of the Intelligence and National Security Alliance, and Michael is the chair of INSA's Insider Threat Subcommittee. Mr. Doyen and Mr. Krause, thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Terry.
Glad to be here.
Mr. Doyen, let me start with you. Can you give us a little bit of a background on the Intelligence and National Security Alliance, what you do, and what prompted this report particularly?
Sure. Good morning, and thank you. The Intelligence and National Security Alliance, as an organization, it's a non-partisan, non-profit trade association. We've been around for 46 years now, and we work to bring together industry, government, and academia to look at and help promote a stronger intelligence community. And we do that by looking at a number of issues that impact the business of industry working with government to provide solutions and services to promote national security. So among all of the different types of programming that we do, one really exciting thing we do as an organization is our policy work, and we have a number of policy councils. They touch on different issues such as cybersecurity or technology. And also, importantly, for today's conversation, they look at security issues, security policy reform. And part of that is insider threat. And so our policy councils, they convene, they bring together experts from among all of our industry partners. We have about 170 industry members at INSA. And they look and address issues of concern. And our Insider Threat Subcommittee has been doing this for many, many years. And the members address issues that are of importance to national security and enhancing the effectiveness of government agencies and the private sector. And we have volunteer leaders like Michael Krause, who will be explaining this white paper that we did. And we do a number of things such as write white papers, hold symposiums, have webinars, things to really help engage and bring together government and industry to look at and solve or make recommendations to solve tough problems.
Well, thank you for that background. And Mr. Krause, let me come to you. You chair the Insider Threat Subcommittee that developed this report. Start us off with a rundown of the insider threats to national security technology.
Well, thank you, Terry. Appreciate that. And that was a great segue for John. If you look at where we're at from a industry, from a national security perspective, the risk of a breach from a trusted insider, whether inadvertently or malicious, is probably higher than it's ever been during our lifetime. We have threats that are not only, emerging more from China, from Russia, from adversaries that want to do harm against ourselves and our allies. Those are becoming more evident every day. You can read the news, and if you read the news these days, you have more and more people, more and more use cases that are being exposed of somebody who has been coerced from the inside, to actually take information, national information outside an organization and share with people that can do harm or share people that get economic benefits of it. So what we do from our National Insider Threat, kind of our subcommittee on insider threat for INSA, is we do a couple things. First, we try to address the problem, identify the problem, make people aware of the problem and the growing risk. But I think what we do different than a lot of organizations out there, we provide recommendations. We provide actions that we believe would be in the best interest of the United States government and the partners to take forward. So we're not just exposing the problem, we're actually providing recommendations and to take action and how we can address and mitigate the risk even further.
I'm going to come back to those recommendations in a minute, but I want to ask you to articulate in particular the report highlights the risks to universities and small businesses here. Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Yeah. So think about it from a university perspective and even a small business. Let's even drill it back an area. To advance our society, we need to collaborate. We need the research from universities. We need the innovation from small business. We need to bring all that together. It just can't be the largest business out there that's driving the bus. It can't be just the United States that's driving the bus and their organizations. We need a family to come together. And a key part of that is our research and university communities and our small business. But the issue lies in, unlike a large company who has budget to address and build a program, a lot of the universities, first, don't have the budgets. Second, in a small business under the same way, secondly, they don't have the expertise of how to go about building a program. So even if you dropped, millions and millions of dollars into a university and says, okay, here's your budget, here's how to build, they just still don't know how to build the program. So it's not only the idea of being able to bring those technologies and tools and processes to the universities, to give them an ability to have the visibility about how research organizations are sharing information across different specters, how small businesses are feeding our pipeline, but giving them the visibility to ensure that they're protecting the sensitive information they're viewing. We have to give them not only the tools and technologies, but we also have to give them the processes and the expertise of how to go about building it. And that's part of our vision, to kind of make sure to provide them the ammunition that they can fight the battle.
I'm speaking with John Doyen. He's the Executive Vice President for the Intelligence and National Security Alliance, and Michael Krause, who's chair of the Subcommittee on Insider Threat. So, Mr. Krause, let's go on then and talk about what those recommendations are for actually addressing the threat.
So a couple things. First of all, if you look at what we've kind of looked at, we would like to recommend to the government and establish what we call a multi-agency task force. And we want that task force to report, we recommend, to the National Security Council. And we put some boundaries on it. We believe there should be a task force that is created within 120 days of the formal establishment via memorandum within the government. And that organization is going to be charged with not only recommending strategies to counter the insider threat, but also working in the uncleared space. Because you think about it, the executive order that are out today all talk about classified arena. We've kind of not ignored, but we've kind of used a second priority on the uncleared space. To me, the uncleared space is the wild, wild west. And just like we are addressing the insider threat from the classified space, we need to really kind of focus just all the attention we did on protecting the classified networks, bring that same vigor to the uncleared space. And that's what we're asking and recommending, that we have that same sort of priority, whether it's priority of funding, whether it's priority of processes and policies that John talked about. We need to make sure that that is addressable, that now people within the universities and subcommittee can actually have this is why I'm doing this. The steps.
Mr. Doyen, let me come to you for a response to that.
I'll just add this multi-agency task force that Michael's describing. We also recommend that it's important to include academia, research institutions, and small businesses and other industry as part of that. You need those voices that are most affected by this problem. You need those voices participating. You need to be able to establish that buy-in and help industry and academia identify the solutions that would be implemented.
I think that's a good point, Terry, that John made. Is that reason why I want to bring that up and foot stomp that is because small business have different challenges than larger business. Universities have different challenges than small business and university. So you need their voice has to be heard.
So let me ask both of you, while you're waiting on Congress to think about your proposal for a multi-agency task force, what are the best practices that small businesses, universities, and large businesses could put in place now to help mitigate this threat? Mr. Krause, you first.
Yeah, so a couple things. First of all, it's not all about tools and technology. I mean, I come from a technology organization. EverFox is a cybersecurity technology organization. But to me, it starts with understanding your culture within your organizations, understanding the current processes you have in place. What could you do to improve those processes that will allow you to get the proper visibility? And the proper visibility comes with protecting people's data rights and civil liberties. Because universities, the last thing you want to do is squash the innovation with more oversight. So I think it starts with sitting down with the organizations, assessing where they're at in their program today, and then coming up with real world suggestions of, hey, if you change this process, if you add this policy, hey, maybe you want to add some technology in there to give you some visibility that you might not have had before. But you have to work within the boundaries of the spirit of the university and the spirit of research, to be able to not squash that, but give them that right level of visibility. And the same with the small businesses. One thing you could even do on small businesses, you could bring that into its own little kind of eco structure, and maybe you can take advantage of bringing kind of the small business together. Maybe you could take advantage of bringing more than one together to kind of give a little more economy of scale. If, for example, the tools and techniques, maybe you can kind of offer that across the board, kind of an enterprise level tools and techniques. You have a similar process, make sure you're consistent with the processes. And also what I would say, you have to engage with people like INSA, with the National Insider Threat Task Force, for different people that have done this before, that we can build programs more effectively and efficiently, which is a key word.
Mr. Doyen, last word to you.
I'll just add that some of the things that you can do for small businesses and academia right now is to help educate them about the problem. We're really fundamentally the biggest rock here, and the biggest concern is the activities of the Chinese Communist Party and what they are doing to steal U.S. technology. And I think that might be known at a certain macro level, but the specific techniques and how that's done, I don't think is fully appreciated by small businesses and universities, et cetera. So I think being able to approach this by an education, getting the word out, helping people understand exactly what the threats are, is a key part of the solution.
And I just want to add one thing on that. Excuse me. Social engineering has become, rampant. And I think people need to understand the use cases that have led others to be exploited. And I think giving them real world examples, like John said, and showing them this can what happened to you. An unsuspecting person can get compromised. You don't have to be an unwitting person provides the same level of risk to somebody who is, being malicious about their intent. So educating them on how social media, because one thing we do as good on the United States, and this is kind of the next generation of our workforce, they expose everything, whether to the web, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on X, whether it's on Instagram. I tell my kids all the time, you guys are an open book out there. So and with AI is going to make it easier to exploit our employees. So you have to not only educate our researchers on, use case or things that are happening, but how technology is making it easier for the Chinese or the Russians to exploit your employees in your organization. So again, education, John, is dead spot on. We have to make sure they're aware and increase the awareness.
I've been speaking with John Doyen. He's the Executive Vice President for the Intelligence and National Security Alliance, and Michael Krause, who chaired the Insider Threat Subcommittee that developed this report. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you, Terry. It's been my pleasure.
We'll post this interview along with a link to the INSA paper at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive. Listen to the Federal Drive on your schedule. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Still to come, how the Israel-Iran ceasefire and U.S. critical infrastructure might be related. It's the Federal Drive with Terry Gerton on Federal News Network.